here. Incredible Buddhist temple monastery here in the mountains. Not like a rural mountains, but it is a mountains here. You can see. And what's going on here? Well, I'm not really sure what's going on here, but I'm hoping that it has something to do with becoming enlightened. Namo Buddhaya. Wait. And I'm supposed to be these live streams somehow supposed to have some kind of teaching element to it. So what's there to teach? And who's there to actually listen to and follow these teachings? Who's actually interested in me being a teacher and sharing my musings? My teacher, one of my big teachers, Sayadaw Tamatara, because really you don't want to be teaching unless you get some kind of insight or some kind of support from other teachers that say, hey, you can teach. And he said, you should teach because teaching is a wonderful way to learn. And I do. I really want to learn. I really want to get a hold of the complete peace and freedom. And I guess the subject that really resonates here is like that, is that possible? Is it possible to be finally at peace? Is it possible to be finally free, once and for all, to not suffer anymore? And what does that mean? What does that look like? To be enlightened, to be free from suffering. To no longer be cycling in these realms of existence. I want to be done. I want to be finished with the work of trying to get enlightened, and I just want to be enlightened. I don't want to do the work of ending suffering. I just want suffering to end. And I don't know how, ultimately, I don't know how valuable the thinking about it is. I think it's probably way less valuable than I think that it is. Because where do all the thoughts come from? And where do they return to? Well, it's a process, Luke, but it's also a question for me. To be able to stop relying on appearances of any and all kinds. There's well, there's a question that a Tibetan nun posed on Facebook. Quite a well-known Tibetan nun, and she's doing a lot of work for impoverished children in India. And she posed this question of, for people under 35, you know, what is it that they're really looking for or in need of out of Buddhism? And what came to my mind, and what always comes to my mind in all of this, is accessibility. People meditating, people concerned with the path, you know, that they should be exceedingly accessible and available. In some ways, I think that was embodied in earlier times by the monks, even though they often lived in the forests or were very away from the goings-on of the society. All the stories, almost all the stories and the teachings that the Buddha gave are just people coming up to him, you know, and so he was world famous, well known, well regarded, and just wandering around, always available, always accessible for those who happen to come by. And what you'll find, what I've found in, not to complain, but to just point this out, you know, in Buddhist temples in the modern world, you know, it can be very dry. It can be very part-time. It can be very inaccessible for a lot of people. Being able to just sit down and talk with a monk or talk with someone who's been on the path can really be a lifesaver. But when there's so many structures in place for, you know, you have to make an application, you have to pay a certain amount of fees, there's a certain schedule that you have to, you know, find out about and then show up according to. You know, it just doesn't work for a lot of people. It's not accessible. Even, you know, Deer Park or the Plum Village tradition, which is like the A+ organization for Western people, you know, young, especially young Western people who would like to contact the Dhamma and, you know, go to join a retreat and participate and all that. It's very expensive. Very costly to be able to go and join a retreat in their tradition. You know what's really freaky? Is that every great movie, every great American Western film is completely full of people being 100% inauthentic. At least in how I define authenticity. Not, authenticity, I don't think, I wouldn't put entertainment as authenticity. And just looking at how convinced and taken in and in a state of belief, seeing people act and it feeling to be sincere, feeling to be real, when it's not at all, even in the slightest bit. We may kind of see how easy it is for your mind, for my mind, to be tricked or misled or pulled into. Really what I'm trying to say is pulled into appearances, pulled into the way that things appear to be. some poetry. I searched high and low without success. By chance, I found this forested peak. My thatch hut pokes through the clouds and sky. A moss-covered trail cuts through the bamboo. The greedy are worried about favor and shame. I spend my time in the stillness of meditation. Bizarre rocks and gnarled pines remain unknown to those who look for the mind with the mind. So a note here. The Chinese have always had a passion for old pine trees and oddly shaped rocks. In the last line, bizarre rocks and gnarled pines remain unknown to those who look for the mind with the mind. Stonehouse recalls the Zen monk who sees beyond the mountains, but who has not yet seen beyond the emptiness with which he has replaced them. Old, but at peace in body and mind, I cleared a place to rest in the pines. A remote mountain hut makes me happy. Up and down roads make others perverse. Wild birds chatter when the wind turns warm. Cerulean shadows fade as the sun declines. With pigweed soup and coarse rice at home, why take my bowl down the mountain anymore? Well, meditation is a kind of stillness. So it's very pleasant to be still, not to be struggling, not to be, worked up. Mountain House said in this poem about, up and down roads make others perverse. So people are constantly going somewhere, returning somewhere all the time, being busy all the time, having a plan all the time. And this perverts our naturalness. It perverts our capacity to be at peace with what is, with ourselves. There's always something on the schedule. There's always somewhere to go. There's always some responsibility. Anytime that you're walking, anytime that you're sitting, anytime you're doing anything, you're on your way somewhere else. So Stonehouse is saying this kind of life makes people perverted, makes their minds perverse. This lack of an appreciation of the subtlety of just being, of just presence, just aliveness, just awareness. The idea here in these Zen kind of teachings is that plainness and ordinariness is free from struggle and free from contrivance and free from conflict. So if we have a bowl here, if we have a bowl, you can see this is a vial of gold. If there's a vial of gold here and we're all cowboys sitting around a fire, some camp in the middle of nowhere, somebody puts this gold here, everybody wants that gold. Now everyone's conniving, everybody's planning, everybody's figuring out how to get this gold, or where that gold came from, or who this person is with all that gold. But if this is just a vial of dried rice, coarse rice, nobody wants it. Nobody's interested in it. And when we start to empower our own mind of not wanting and not being interested in things, it's like we can go deeper into the primordial mind or the natural mind, the reality mind, and we can be at peace, and we can be free from this constant seeking after phones and movies and TV, and we can just appreciate nature. Not just green and mountains, etc., but we can appreciate just being. And that just being that is accessible all the time. So you can think how much happier, how much more peaceful, how much more wise would someone be if they could just get all of their nourishment from the situation as it is, completely ordinary, versus the person who has all the wealth, all the money, all the power in the world, etc., cars and houses and all this, and is like their happiness, their peace, their freedom relies on all these things, where the sage or the wise person can find is peaceful, is free in what already is, completely ordinary, completely present, completely beyond anything, completely beyond anyone. And that's real freedom. And Stonehouse kind of writes a lot about that, this hermit Stonehouse. I built a thatched hut deep in the clouds. I find enough joy in what life brings. I bury a few potatoes before the fire dies. I'm done with schemes, but not with writing letters. Clear and still as ice, I transcend the bounds of time. Open and full of light, I encompass the 10 directions. But events outside my hut are a mystery to me, like how many times have flowers fallen and bloomed again. There's a note here that the bird is just trudging along. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Inshallah. And may Allah be with Palestine at this time. Examine the patterns of transient existence. And this is something we usually don't think very much about, but there's a transientness to our daily life, to our experiences that we have each day. There's a constant shifting, a constant changing. And I've noticed and I've experienced this a lot as being someone who's traveled, but it's also mental, right? The body going around to different places. It's also very mentality. This certain state of your ego, this certain state of depression, this certain state of like a kind of thought that you have about yourself or someone else, or a thought that you have about how the world is, and then it completely vanishes. It completely goes away. It's not there anymore. Before it was this massive block, this massive sticking point for your, your life, for your existence, and it's just completely vanished. It's totally gone away. So Stonehouse in this poem says, examine the patterns of transient existence. The outcome of a game of chess isn't fixed. A monk in the mountains needs to be free. People in the dust grow old, unaware. So, talking here about this world of dust, this is the normal world. This is the world that all of us are familiar with. The world of businesses, the world of houses, the world of gold, the world of cars and transactions and contracts and expectations and jobs and relationships and all that. This is the world of dust. And Stonehouse is saying that in this dust of capitalism, in this dust of consumerism, people grow old completely unaware. To stop the machine of your life and to thoughtlessly look deeply at reality and see what happens. That's my philosophy of life. This is a thoughtless reality. It's not empty in the way of things being empty, because there's so much color and fragrance and trees and mountains and all this. But being in the moment is just another thought, and it's a stupid thought. It's a very, very stupid thought. This is a thoughtless reality. And when you start to stop the control that the ego has on your life, and you start to look at this thoughtless reality, you may start to develop some detachment. It has nothing to do with any thought about it. Thoughts are just like gas coming out of your rear. So literally what you're doing right now, and maybe what I'm doing right now as well, is you've picked up a cup and you've put it on your rear end, and you're passing gas, and you're trying to consume it. Is that it? No, that's not it. So no thought is it. No thought is it. No thought is it, no thought is it, no thought is it, no thought is it, no thought is it. No thought is it, 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 no thought is it. No thought is it, 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 no thought is it. Wind-blown tea smoke floats above my bed. Stream-borne petals fill the pond outside. With 36,000 days, why not spend a few staying still? And so this is that practice and that teaching of staying still and starting to stay still here and now. Thinking is just something that we have a lot of attachment to, so that this is like a thought-based culture or a thought-based society that we've grown up in. It wasn't always like that, for sure. We weren't born thinking. Children don't think, right? Little babies and children don't think, and who says that they should, or who says when they should? But the point of this is that thinking is just another appearance. It's just another phenomena, just like your gas or a shoe or this vial of gold. It's just another phenomena. And so the stupidity of attachment to thoughts is not about the thoughts. It's about the attachment. So stop thinking and start living means shut up and detach from what you're holding on to. And when we learn our meditation practice, when we learn our way of transforming suffering properly, when we learn proper real meditation, then we can actively drain our suffering. We can drain our depression, we can drain our anxiety, we can drain out these pustules that form in the brain of suffering. Now, that might sound good. I mean, that kind of sounds good to me in some sense, because I'm like, well, I think I know how to meditate properly, right? But even Ajahn Mahabua, or one of these great Ajahns and Thai forest monks, said that sometimes they would have to sit for 10 hours to calm down. So it's not just to know how to meditate properly, but also to have the right effort or the willingness to drain that suffering when it comes up. And then you get into really heavy stuff, like people having prostate surgery without anesthetic, monks, great ajahns having surgery on their body without anesthetic, without sedation. And so then you can kind of tune into that the progress that the ego wants to make is not the kind of progress that the Buddha is talking about, or that detachment is talking about. It's something different. It's not about the ego anymore, because like your ego yourself, like having your body surgically adjusted or worked on while you're awake and feeling all that. Who wants that? Who wants to have a surgery on their body when they're awake? What we want is this vial full of gold. Right? We don't want spiritual progress. That's what we think we want, but really we want a vial full of gold. And this gold can be lots of pleasurable experiences. It can be avoidance of lots of painful experiences. It can be having, many followers or people who like us. Having punishment or having a wake-up call for those people that don't like us, right? But the spiritual progress is actually not being attached to that gold, not being attached to what we think we want. Now, so we have all these days to live, and then we die. So why not spend a few of these days staying still? To get to the end, the very end, let it all go. Let it go. Foam piles up on a pair of lips. Moss grows thick on an ancient road. A wooden horse flashes through the clouds. A clay ox thunders beneath the waves. A clear moonlit night amid 10,000 snowy peaks. A hidden scent says spring has reached the winter plum. I'm a poor but happy follower of the way. Whatever happens takes care of my needs. Last night, the west wind blew down an old tree. At daybreak, firewood covered the ground. Wind-blown white silk wreathed the red scarps. Dewdrop pearls adorned the green cliffs. My survival has always depended on what's present. Why should I tire myself out making plans? So this guy's the gold standard. The sage, the monk, the hermit, the empty follower of the way. He really puts us all to shame. Puts me to shame, I can say that. But, really to receive that, let's hear it again. And for those who don't know, Stonehouse was this monk who lived on the mountain, in the mountains of ancient China, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But he wrote down, he would send these letters, and he would write all of these poems and some teachings as well, and through the poems as well. I'm a poor but happy follower of the way. Whatever happens takes care of my needs. Last night, the west wind blew down an old tree. At daybreak, firewood covered the ground. Wind-blown white silk wreathed the red scarps. Dewdrop pearls adorned the green cliffs. My survival has always depended on what's present. Why should I tire myself out making plans? So it's a declaration of truth that our survival has always depends on what's present. The oxygen that we breathe, the moisture in the air, the temperature, the fact that the world's not splitting open underneath our feet right now. So our survival is always dependent on what's present. The flow of the blood, the oxygen, the body as it is right now. So Stonehouse poses a question: why should I tire myself out making plans? You know, we may not be able to live that way or to be that way now, but can we empathize with that? Can we feel that? Can we um, feel Stonehouse's breath on the nape of our neck from that mountain, from that mind? You know very well, yet seem not to know, speechless like a dunce or a fool. You keep still while storms flatten mountains, not a thought moving for 10,000 years. With ears you hear the wind in the trees. With no mind you respond like a pond to the moon. But don't think you alone understand. This is something anyone can do. Any questions or comments before we finish? And I'll take everyone around. I'll show the temple here. It's quite a beautiful view and big Buddha. White lotus. How about purple lotus? Or gold lotus? Oops. Depends how things are going. Okay, so the mountains here. Chuklam Dai Gyak. This is the temple. If you ever come here, the password for the Wi-Fi is 1234567 8. But don't tell them you got it from me. And Buddhist temples are, especially Mahayana Buddhist temples like you'll find here in Vietnam, are going to be vegetarian. So they're not going to be having chicken wings. Dear Guan dear the Bodhisattva of compassion. Ooh. W's for Buddha, everybody. If you like, you can also make 3 bows, and I'll ring the bell for you. So you can bow to the Buddha here as I ring the bell. So sadly, Buddhism is very much in decline around the world. But that is foretold by the Buddha. And it will continue to decline, probably quite rapidly. But it has not gotten to that point yet, so we are very much in the age of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, so we can be very grateful and very involved. Yeah, I mean, well, let's take a moment here. Well, one of the reasons the Buddha or Siddhartha Gautama was so elevated and appreciated was because he wasn't someone who was leaving like a difficult situation. Uh-oh, what's happened to our Wi-Fi? Are we still connected, everybody? Yeah. But the Buddha was actually somebody who was a king, or was a prince, and he realized the suffering and that the way that he was living his life wasn't going to help him. So he left home and became a sadhu, an ascetic, a meditator. you can imagine that it's a little bit easier to consider leaving home or becoming a monk when your situation is very difficult. But when your situation is very idealistic, um, you can think, you can appreciate why someone would not want to do that. But anyways, um, nowadays, everybody is basically their own little prince or princess or king or queen. Smartphones, the Buddhist path is the path of detachment. And we're now in a situation where um, the world and the society is becoming more attached than ever before. And that's not going to slow down anytime soon. So, less monks, less good monks is the main thing. Number one thing. So in Vietnam and in a lot of places, when you go to visit a temple, it's not like you're going to find an active community of serious meditators ready to talk with you about Buddhism and meditation. Um, but if you are willing to meditate, if you're willing to practice, then you can get the energy from the place. You can make use of it. Especially the mountain, places with the mountains like this is very powerful. Mountains have a lot of energy. Okay. Be well, friends. Take care and see you again soon. Namo Guanteam Bota. Namo Guanteam Bota. Namo Guanteam Bota. Tadu. Tadu. Tadu.